A recent rule change in the city of Austin means Austin is now one of the largest cities in the country without minimum parking requirements. So, in our booming city, does that mean developers just aren't adding parking to any of their new buildings? KUT housing reporter Audrey McGlinchy set out to answer that very question in a report this week and joins us now here for KVUE News at 4 to talk about what she uncovered. Audrey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jenny.
All right, let's start with why the city did away with those minimum parking requirements for developers to begin with.
Yeah, there were several arguments. One is that the cost of building parking is actually very expensive to build. It can be tens of thousands of dollars just to build one parking space. So the idea was that we could lower the cost for developers. The other hope was that maybe more housing would be built in place of that parking. And then the other idea is that maybe if we build less parking, people will use their cars less and opt to get around in different ways.
That has always been a goal of the city, to make it a more walkable city. But you point out in your report, it's too soon, right? What did you find out? Yeah,
so I wasn't able to really see what developers have built so far. It's been about 10 months. Development moves pretty slowly. So what I did was that I looked at an older program, a program from 2019. So it's been in place for 5 years. This allows developers to not have to build any parking if they build a certain amount of affordable housing. And what I found in these cases is that developers are building about 25% fewer parking spaces. And people I spoke to said we can probably expect that same number citywide as this policy moves forward.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people assume that not requiring minimum parking means there'll be no parking at all.
Right.
Which probably wouldn't work, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I found too in talking to developers and architects who've worked on these projects is that lenders, people looking at the financial side of this, are really not going to lend money to build something that has zero parking in a city where most people get around in their cars. It just is a risk that people are not willing to take.
No, that actually makes sense. So what are you hearing from builders about how they're approaching the new rule?
So a lot of them are thinking about two things. One, who is going to live in this building? You know, is this going to be families? Maybe there's kids who won't have cars. Is it going to be single people? Is it going to be people who are lower income and maybe can't afford a car? And then the other question is, how close is this building to public transit? Might people opt to take the bus more often and have either fewer cars or no cars at all?
What's your big takeaway for how this rule may change the way new builds will come?
I think going back to what you said earlier, a lot of the response when I first did the story about the city council changing this policy was that, oh my gosh, now they're not going to build any parking. Where will we park? But really what we're finding is that people are still building parking, just a little bit less parking.
Okay. We'll see, right?
Yeah.
We appreciate your reporting. It was very interesting when I first heard it. Audrey, thank you for joining us here on KVUE News at 4.
Thanks for having me.